What's up, Duel Links? It's a sword back with another ban list prediction video. We're gonna take a look at top decks. Um, let's go ahead and start off here with what everybody wants, and that's Lyrilusk. So we'll look at the KC builds. Here's your typical Lyrilusk deck. So Lyrilusk's hasn't really been out that long, so I don't really expect anything too major. And something I've been talking about in a couple of chats. I do expect Nightingale to get hit with a limited one, but I expect the limited one on Robin to be removed. Now, what they could do is put like a limit 3 on maybe Robin, so you could play that along with like Sparrow, because most people tend to play roughly 2 Sparrow anyway. So you put a limit 3 on Robin and then put a limit 3 on Sparrow, then it doesn't really affect the deck, but you'll still have that limit on Robin, so other decks that are trying to use limit 3 cards, like Book of Eclipse, for example, won't be able to use it. But mainly I predict the Nightingale change, because Nightingale is not only being used here in Lyrilusk, but is also being used over here in Predaplants. So let's go back real quick. We're going to go into Predaplant, click on a KC variant. This is one of the small ones. Most of them tend to be 30 cards. There we go. So over here, you'll notice, of course, Super Poly is limit 1, which is the whole reason that I expect Nightingale to get hit with the L1, because you don't need both of these in the same deck. All right, this card is literally like the main opening play right now of Predaplant, because the deck doesn't do as good turn 1 as it does turn 2. Speaking of the deck's turn 2, let's talk about Hydra. This card is stupid, okay? Combined with the skill's ability to throw a Predacounter out onto your choice of your opponent's monster, like going against Lyrilusk, you'd probably put it on Nightingale, and it allows for no interaction. So the card itself, I don't think needs to be hit. What needs to be touched is the fact that Starving Venom Invasion, the skill, allows you to add this card to your hand. All right. Let's see here. You only normal summon Predaplants. Reveal 2 cards in your hand that are Predap cards, and Poly spell cards and or Fusion spell cards. And then you can add 1 Polymerization from outside your deck, and then you can add 1 Predap card from your deck to your, or graveyard for that matter, to your hand. So with that part of the skill being like it is, I think it needs to be changed. The skill, that is, just slightly, to where it says something more along the lines of at a Predap monster level 4 and lower, or a Predap spell or trap. So basically just change it to where you can only get level 4 and lower monsters, like the deck is intended for with getting Scorpion. Of course, if this happens, people most likely will just start running multiple Hydras, probably 3 at the very least, maybe 2. Some people are already running 2 Hydras, so, but at least you won't be able to add it directly from your deck to your hand for free with no interaction whatsoever. If anything else in the Predaplant deck gets hit, I think it would be one of the older cards, such as, we're just going to call him Doom, because this card's been out for a very long time. This card's been out since Predaplant first came out. Hell, I'm not even sure what year, but it's been a long time. But if anything else happens to the deck, it'd probably be like due to limit 3 or something like that. I really don't expect Predaplant to get hit any kind of way that'd be too difficult on the deck, because the deck itself just hasn't been out that long. Really, the only thing I expect to get hit is Nightingale and maybe a light tap to the skill, because it is so overpowered with being able to bring out Hydra and then just go full combo, especially with the Hydra combo mixed with the Bablisp, the B, which is, I mean, he looks like a B. We're just gonna call him B. But yeah, the combo with these 2, and then going into, well, this deck isn't really using it, but you can go into Phoenix pretty easy with just B alone. So, and that's basically one of the main ways for dealing with Nightingale when you go against Lyrilusk. Go into Ninja Rusu, however you say his name. Yeah, this guy. Ninja Rusu, World Chalice Warrior. Because he doesn't target. Yeah, you send with this card, you don't target. So, okay, so let's go back. I think we're pretty much done with Lyrilusk and Predaplant. Basically, just to reiterate, I don't expect too many hits from them. Just a change from Robin to Nightingale, and maybe Sparrow to limit 3, maybe Dew to limit 3. I don't expect more than that. There might be some skill changes, but don't count on it because the deck's too new. Now, Ghost Tricks is an interesting deck. So the deck came out with hits, specifically with Fairy, Jack Frost, and Lantern. Right? Like, as soon as the deck came out, it was preemptively hit because these cards are all hand traps that either prevent an attack some kind of way. Let's see. Yeah, that one doesn't really, but Mary does, which honestly I'm surprised I didn't hit Mary with limit 3 already. But specifically Lantern and Jack Frost. I don't really expect anything in this deck to get hit too much. If anything does get hit, I think it'll probably be Mary to limit 3, just because she is also a hand trap. So that might be your new limit 3 right there. Otherwise, the deck itself is pretty solid. I just think they're going to do something to get rid of Eclipse. I don't know what exactly, but I do think it will be Mary. The skill itself, I think, is fine. It's not too oppressive. I mean, the deck is limit 3 after all, so the real issue comes with the deck is the way it does with traps. Like, Drowning Mirror Force is not a good card. Okay, I just want to be as firm about that as I can to you. I hate battle traps. I hate them. Battle traps just do not belong in today's meta. But this deck actually is able to use battle traps, because when the cards are face down and you got Ghost Trick Mansion up, the opponent's attacking you directly. So now all of a sudden, Drowning Mirror Force is not only a good card, but a great card, especially against decks like Lyrilusk, which can attack over and over and over, which some decks are playing Drowning Mirror Force because of Lyrilusk anyway, because it does attack directly. So yeah, this deck is pretty much a direct counter to Lyrilusk. And then, of course, you got Needle Sealing, which doesn't affect your own face-down monsters, because your monsters are face-down. This only destroys face-up cards, and it doesn't target. So, yeah, this deck is good. And for the most part, I think it's good where it is. Once again, I just think they'll do something to get rid of Eclipse, and I think it'll be Mary. So expect Mary to L3. That is my prediction. Okay. I don't really have any kind of thing to deal with Shaddoll. I think Shaddoll's good. Shaddoll is, of course, using Super Poly also, so they might hit something to L1 to deal with Super Poly for the deck. What that'll be is anyone's guess, because the deck is good, but it's a little underrepresented. If anything does get hit in the deck, it'll probably be one of the rares, maybe Hedgehog. I haven't seen many people playing Genus, but I haven't looked at that many Shadow decks. So it'll be one of the rares, most likely. Shadow Dragon. Squamata probably not, because it looks like people are running 3 of it. So probably Dragon then. They might hit Dragon with the L1, since people seem to only be running 2 of that. I mean, I'm only looking at one deck. Let's look at one more deck. Okay, so this guy's only running 1 Hedgehog. So it might just be Hedgehog then. But yeah, it'll most likely be one of the rares, or just some random card that Shadow decks like to use, but usually only 1 copy of. So, but yeah, Super Poly probably won't be allowed to stay in the deck. But only time will tell. The deck hasn't had any real hits since it came out. The skill, I think, is fine. I haven't heard anyone really complaining about the skill too much, but I haven't read up on it. And I'm trying to keep this video a little short. I think the last one I made was 30-something minutes. But yeah, Shaddoll seems to be fine where it's at. I don't really expect anything to happen to it. Sky Striker is one of my personal favorite decks. And I would say it's probably the third deck that I know best. With first and second being Unchained and Altergeist. Those are my babies. But Sky Striker is the deck that I know best at the moment that's on the meta list. So I gotta talk about Engage. This card is insane. It's a better Pot of Greed. And we don't have Pot of Greed in the game. Pot of Greed is not even in the game, but if it was, it would be banned. Or hidden behind a skill, perhaps. I think Pegasus adds Pot of Greed to your hand, if I remember right. I think he has a skill that does it. But anyway, this guy's running 2 Engage with 1 evac. An interesting idea, if I do say so myself. I probably wouldn't do that. I think Engage is too good, and traps don't work for all your spells, because you need multiple spell cards. So I don't like the evac pick personally, but to each their own. At any rate, as you can see, Engage is already limited to 3. So, I mean, what are you going to do with this deck, right? Terraforming is already limited 1. Widow Anchor is already limited 2. There's really not a lot you can do to this deck to make it weaker. And if any of this came off the limit list, the deck is going to skyrocket. It's tier 3 right now. If you took the limit 2 off of Widow Anchor and they gave us another Widow Anchor accessible and we had 3 Widow Anchors, that alone would make the deck insane. All right. And supposedly we have support coming in the near future. How many boxes that is you're not able to say, but they have messed with the cards and the game's code, as we've seen in the leaks a little while back. So, Sky Striker support is coming. The deck is currently tier 3, and it's one of those decks that's probably one of the best investments you can put in Duel Links, because it's probably going to be relevant for a very long time. At any rate, that's not why we're here. I'm kind of rambling. Yeah, so I don't really expect any hits to be done to Sky Striker. I mean, you got Link Dart Rays, and it's a dang good skill. But if they were to mess with Dark Rays, they would have to mess with all the skills of this type, and I just don't see that happening. If they did hit anything, it would probably be the Infernal Arms cards. So maybe put that at L1 and mess with Terraforming. And then you'd have to choose between Terraforming and the Noble Arms card. Let you attack twice. So I could see that probably happening, but that's about the only thing that you could really do to Sky Striker if you wanted to bring it down a notch. But I don't think they're going to do that right now. We're looking at all the limit decks to see what could be hit. So, Shark, nothing's going to happen to Shark. Let's be real. The deck is dang good, but nothing's going to happen to the deck because it is tier 3. It has been out for a hot minute. And if it was used more than what it currently is, I'd say then, maybe. But there's nothing here that I see happening. I know some people want some things happen to Sharks. I think it was Duel Links free to play. I think I watched his video. He was saying he wanted Sharks hit. I might be wrong about that though. Don't quote me. But it would be left hand Shark. If anything got hit, it would be that. Worst case scenario, right hand Shark would get hit, but it's unlikely to happen. And it would just be an L3 to remove Eclipse, and that would be it. And the deck would still be insane, let's be real. Because Sharks is actually really good. Okay. Okay, so I think that's all of the tiered decks. Oh no, we did not talk about Fleur. Fleur looking a little under radar here. Only 8 decks. That's kind of insane considering how popular this deck is usually. Okay, so this guy is using the Plasma build. I've seen this a couple of times. It's interesting. This is the more general, version of the deck. But the Fleur deck can be used in so many different ways. It would be really difficult to shut this deck down. You would have to dramatically change the skill, like make it only plants or something, in order to actually hurt this deck. Because if you did anything to it, it can just change to the other style. And like the Infernoble style is a good example, right? So, and you can't really hurt, the Fleur herself, Sauge de Fleur. Trying to do my best French accent. Sorcerer de Fleur. You can't really hit either one of them because of the way the skill's worded. But if you were to hit one of them, like put one at limit 2, for example, then you could just use Cosmo Queen. So, and if people were forced to use Cosmo Queen, then Cosmo Queen, Jesus, they would just start using the Blue Eyes White Dragon card. Let's head on over to Blue Eyes real quick, because I've actually seen this used a few times. Successor Soul. So if the deck was forced to use 3 Cosmo Queen, they could just use Successor Soul in the deck, and it would just give the deck another way of doing stuff. So yeah, I know people do want Fleur changes, but I don't see it happening. If this version of the deck gets too popular low, it may wind up causing Plasma to get hit. But that's about the only thing I'd really see happening. So this person's actually using Bishop Balkan in his deck. That card is pretty toxic. There were actually some people who wanted that card banned. I don't really think it needs banning, just because if it does become popular, you can just use Power Code Talker and just get rid of the tokens. So, yeah. Fleur, I don't expect any changes to. The deck's not really as popular as it once was. It's still really good, and it can be used too many ways to actually warrant striking any one of them. If any of them was going to get hit, it probably would have been back when Infernal Knight's version was popular, but the Infernal Knight version has dropped off. So, okay. So that's about it. The only other deck that I really wanted to talk about is Sharanui, which I know is on here. Deck, where is it? There they are, right in front of my face. So the only thing about this deck is it's currently doing pretty good because it has a pretty good matchup against both of the top meta decks. But this is the card that needs to be dealt with. Samsara, Sharanui style Samsara is too good, right? Like this card is a menace. It is a stall card, let's be real, and Konami hates stall cards. So this card's been out for quite a while now, and this is the card that made Sharanui as good as it was when it was top meta. And this card still hasn't been hit. Like this card is the reason why Sharanui is still a thing. That and the fact that, they get their own skill. I don't think the deck needs to be killed by any stretch of the imagination, but this card needs to be dealt with. Bare minimum, it needs to be limit 3. Personally, the deck's not really using any limit 1s. I think they should limit 1 this card and just get rid of Econ, and they just have this card. All right? Like, you ain't got to do anything else to it. You ain't got to go crazy and kill the deck, right? They don't need to put a limit 3 on thing and make where you can't play Solitaire anymore. Heck, unlimit Solitaire and just give us the limit 1 on Samsara. All right? I would be happy with that, right? Like, unlimit Samsara, limit 1, unlimit Solitaire, limit 1 Samsara, then they can play Book of Eclipse, and you just, that's the only thing I want. That's the only thing is like this card. I hate this card. I hate any stall card, but I hate this card. I cannot express that enough. And I know I'm not alone on that. All right, let's back on out. And I want to talk about one more thing, but it's not wanting to load. Hold on. There we go. And this is all raw. I'm not going to edit anything, so there we go. All right. Cyber Dragon. One of my personal favorite decks. Right? What's wrong with this list? Yeah? Everybody who knows anything about Cyber Dragon knows what's wrong with this list. I messed up somewhere. I think it's on 2. Yeah, there we go. Overflow. Overflow is what's wrong with the Cyber Dragon deck. It's already doing good, but it's not doing what it should be doing. Considering we have infinite and infinity, we need overflow. This card needs to come off the limit list. Yes, it's good. It's great even, but it is a Cyber Dragon card that goes with Cyberload Fusion. Cyberload Fusion is not even as good as it should be without Overflow in the deck. And besides, we're just using Barrage Blast anyway. Overflow is a slightly better version of Barrage Blast. That's it. I mean, in some cases, you could argue Barrage Blast is better. You could technically get, I think I've gotten as many as 5 pops with this card. So, I mean, it depends on how many Machine XYZs you have out, right? So if you got 2 Van Mana and you got Infinite sitting there, then that's 6 pops total you can do bare minimum. I mean, Barrage is crazy, but it doesn't banish. We need the banishment part for Reload Fusion. Then we can actually make fusions good in Cyber Dragon. Like, my version of the deck isn't even using fusions. The only fusion I have in my version of the deck is Cyber End Dragon for just in case if somebody pops Nova, not realizing, oh, if you do that, your opponent gets to bring out a fusion machine. And for me, I've made Cyber End Dragon my choice, mainly for its piercing ability and a massive 4,000 attack. I mean, you can make Overflow limit 3. I'm okay with that. You can make Overflow. You can make it limit 2 again. I'm okay running 1 copy of that card along with 1 copy of Cyberload Fusion. I'm okay with that. But what I'd like to see is the card limited 3. But it doesn't need to be limit 1. Right now, our choices are between Infinity and Overflow, and no one is choosing Overflow over Infinity. That's just not happening. If you have access to Infinity, you are not choosing Overflow. But Overflow is a Cyber Dragon card that is crucial to the fusion line of the Cyber Dragon strategy. And we need that card. So Konami, under the really slim chances that you watch this, since I've only made 2 videos now, please give us Overflow. Limit 3 Overflow. I am fine with that. Limit 2 Overflow. I am fine with that. But give us at least 1 copy of Overflow. Because then I can just run 1 copy it and 1 copy of Barrage, and I will be happy as hell. Right? Just give me 1 copy, please. Like, y'all never had to make that change with taking it off the limit 2 list and putting it into limit 1. Y'all did not have to do that. We can run 1 copy of Cyberload, 1 copy of Overload, and then 1 copy of Overflow. And then I can just run 1 or 2 Barrage Blasts, which honestly I'd probably run 2 still, because you want to see this card. But yeah. Okay. I think that's about it. I just had to gripe there about my Cyber Dragons, because it's so annoying that we don't have that. And I love my Cyber Dragon deck. Rockets have dropped off. We're not going to talk about that, because Predaplants just cakewalks the deck since it's dark. Like, Predaplants basically auto wins against any dark deck. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for watching, and see you guys in the next video.